Assalamu alaikum, everybody, and welcome to another podcast from your four brothers. Today's topic is a little bit different, not so political and not so much around sports, but really it's about our personal life and how we can get ahead. Today, we're going to share with you experiences from our own personal lives and how we get ahead in the workplace, in life in general, with our families, how we be good contributing members to society. So, Shaheen, I know you had a lot of things to say for this. I'm going to let you take it away with a little bit of, an intro and give us a rundown as to how you got ahead in the workplace, in life, socially, financially, and societally.
Societally.
That's
Yeah,
the word.
all right, I can start. Let me kick this off. If for those who don't know, I mean, all of us who are sitting here on the couches, Allah has blessed us with a lot, I'd say. And I think we have some wisdom to impart here, especially to folks who are up and coming in their careers or in their, say, adult livelihoods. So one of the things I wanted to say, or the most important thing, and if you don't listen to anything else in the podcast, you should listen to this, is you need to work on your written and oral communication skills. That's it. The number one thing, if you want to remember anything, is work on your communication skills. And if you don't have good communication skills, you're going to struggle getting afar. But if you have really good communication skills, it's like the workplace is on easy mode. You're playing a game and it's just easy. You can speak well. You can send sort of concise emails well. You can get your point across. Automatically, people elevate their sort of respect for you. I think it goes a very, very long way, not just at the workplace, but even in your personal life. And without getting into, say, marital advice or so, but having open, clear dialogue, communication with your spouse, with your family members, with your adults, with your parents, with your children, it's key. It's the key in life. I think we should end the podcast now and just sort of leave it at that with the communication piece. But
Absolutely. Khatam ho gaya baat.
I mean, that really is the number one thing you can, if I'm to impart any wisdom, work on your comm skills, read books, read sort of editorials in newspapers. Keep it simple. You don't have to learn fancy words or anything, but be concise, be clear, make sure grammar's on point, and learn from people who are better at it than you. I think that's one thing. Look at people, say, again, maybe just going back to the workplace or even your family or friends. People have good communication skills. What do they do? How do they speak? What's their body language? All of that goes into your comm skills. I think it's the number one important skill set someone can build. I think the question to you guys would be, how do you build it now? I mean,
Yeah,
what's the best
you
way?
mentioned something about body language, right? And communication comparison to body language. I think that's the main key as well. But how do you build that body language? How do you build that level of confidence to be able to speak out? Because a lot of times what happens is someone may have excellent communication skills, but they're a bit shy. Why are they a bit shy? Because they probably have an imposter syndrome or something like that. So what happens is they don't speak out, even though they've got all that knowledge and all that communication skills built inside of them. They just need to shine. So that's one of the key things.
So how do you get them to get out of their shell, right?
Absolutely, that's one of the issues we should discuss.
I think I've got a little bit of insight that I can put into confidence. Being someone who was quite naturally introverted and not very social.
When were you introverted, buddy?
He was introverted because I remember a time where Usman wanted to work. You're 16, you want to get your first job. He used to tell me, Rizwan, can you go talk to that guy? I want to work at Paramount. And I was like, okay, bro, you got this, but I'll talk to him first for you.
So I think naturally I was introverted. I would still consider myself introverted, but I can become a social butterfly as needed for the situation, as needed to excel really in the workplace and in life in general. One of the things that helped me a lot, and it sounds a little bit unrelated, but trust me, from my own anecdote, I think it's very much related. It's building a confidence through the way you look. And one of the things that you can really control in the way you look is sports and bodybuilding and fitness. I think when you start to work on that allows you to just build an inner confidence. When you build strength, that not only builds your physical strength, but your strength and courage to be able to communicate better.
Yeah, you've brought up a really good point. Hitting the weights or going to the gym or doing any form of exercise. When you're pushing yourself in the gym, and those guys, like, I'm talking about really pushing yourself, like really pushing yourself to the breaking point and getting past that. that actually builds confidence. It builds confidence both on a physical level and at a mental level, right? So, absolutely, like when it translates into the workforce as well. So as you're like much stronger, you've started your day off or you ended your day off doing a workout that you've broken yourself down, come outside the gym as a different being, right? Like, because when I go to the gym, I'm basically there to destroy myself. I come out and say, hey, I'm a completely new being now because I just went through a grueling workout.
Yeah, I look at it like when you are going for like a personal best or lifting a heavy weight, like that's a very hard task. Compare that against just speaking confidently with someone. Is that as hard? The fact that you've done something even harder than that should give you the mental like switch to turn on that, hey, if I can do this, something so hard, put my body through like doing a personal best of like maybe a bench press, a squat, a deadlift, whatever it may be, then the action of saying a couple of words with confidence in your presentation, in your interview, in your conversation with maybe a boss or a manager or your team, that should be a lot easier, right?
You know, that's a good point. So we're talking about self improvement, and going to the gym is not all about making muscle, you know, looking good. It obviously you get physically more fitter, but what else does working out affect? You know, mental aspect. It makes you mentally strong as well, and that's putting yourself in tough situations. What happens when you put yourself in tough situations? Your heart rate increases, you breathe faster, and then you have to know how to control that heart rate. You have to know how to control that breathing. Same thing happens when you're going for an interview. What happens? Your heart rate increases, you start breathing faster. You know how to, if you put yourself, your body in that position, you're ready for that. And then the other aspect of it, the dopamine aspect, you know, what else would you do if you're not working out, you know? I mean, you have to put aside time to work out almost every day, and it does. It's called self-improvement. It does help with you, not only if you're an anxious person, not only just your anxiety. If you're a slightly low mood person, it does not only help you with your mood, but it helps you with strength, and it does build confidence. So I just wanted to add that in there as well.
You know what? One thing which I wanted to say is, what builds confidence obviously is going to the gym. You know, you guys raised some good points. Physical fitness, mental fitness, really sharpness. But what do you guys think about your attire? Like, how do you dress when you go to a workplace? Especially, I know lately we've been working from home a lot, but there's still many locations who are going back to work. They're sort of returning to offices. Some sort of retail jobs and other locations are must-have. You have to be in person. But what are your thoughts on your attire when you go to work? How do you dress?
It's not an issue for me. Honestly, I don't really care about attire. Me personally speaking, it's never been an issue. Like, I just dress the way I feel like dressing. I don't focus on what type of attire I need to wear.
You wear pajamas to work?
No, but I'll dress for the occasion. It's not as if I'm not, like, I'll just wear a white shirt and gray pants and some shoes, whichever suit me. I'll probably wear that for the entire week. Like, and I don't care if I'm not wearing a different shirt the next day or anything like that. It doesn't bother me because when I'm at work, I'm not there to like show off or anything. I'm just there to do my thing. Going back to confidence though, one of the things that provides me confidence is a spiritual connection. My religion, right? Islam. That gives me a full level of confidence because I know in my heart, in my being, one of the things that I stand by is that whatever I do to try to earn something, I get it from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. He's the main provider. Everyone else is just basically a medium, right? So when I know that in my heart, regardless of what everyone promises me, the main provider is Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, then nothing else matters. So that's the key thing that I look by. So if I work as hard as I can and I don't get something, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala didn't want me to have that, right? And if I work hard and get something, then Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala wanted me to have that. That's it. If you understand that to your core, that there's a higher being, there's a God, there's Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala who's providing for you, and He's already preordained that you are going to get this. You won't get a penny less or a penny more. That's it. Then you'll have that level of confidence going into any situation, because whether you're talking to a CEO, whether you're talking to a CTO or CIO, you're sitting across from them and you're basically providing them the answers that you know are legit. You don't have to pretend. You don't have to be someone who you're not. You don't have to give them fake or false data. Just tell them the true, transparent situation with the most clear communication that you brought up, inside knowing that regardless of what happens, whether they like the news that they're hearing or they don't like the news that they're hearing, at the end of the day, you're just trying your best, and that's it. Hey, how are you?
Guest. Hamza, you have to go. You have to go play with Eliza. Go, go.
Car is not working.
His car's not working.
You see, Hamza, go play with Eliza. Thank you. Go, go, go.
Listen, going back to your question though,
Yeah.
I think I have a different point of view. If I'm going for a new interview, obviously you have to dress your best, right? But
First impressions
yeah,
matter.
the first impression is the last impression. So obviously you leave no stone unturned, right? So I do dress to impress. Funny thing is, I actually think it matters even if I go for an exam. When I go for my long 10-hour exams for my boards and stuff, I made sure I dressed well because I felt like you dress well, you feel good, you perform well. So I leave no page unturned. I mean, that's what I believe in. So
Really, you've got the time to
So
think about
let
like
me-
what to wear.
Let me
Yeah.
tell you. Let me tell you about
because
this
when you're
guy.
well prepared, you have time to do anything.
Let me tell you about him.
That's
So
true.
he's a physician. For those who don't know, how come you don't wear like the generic, scrubs which you can get from Mark's Work Warehouse or something? Why do you wear custom scrubs?
With my name on it,
Yeah.
because working 10-hour days, you have to be comfortable.
Well, not only that, I think there's an image too. The custom scrubs are fitted to you. They're exactly your size or bespoke to you,
Yeah.
and it comes back to that confidence and that overall look. I'd say, is that right, or am I
You know,
connecting dots?
No, you are connecting dots. It's not. I see a lot of pictures online with guys with some doctors wearing very, very tight clothing. I'm not a big fan of tight clothing as well, but it has to be somewhat comfortable, custom fit. I think the material matters most to me. And there's a couple of brands out there. I'm not gonna mention names.
Until we get sponsorships.
Yes,
But-
until we get sponsorships, bigs. But yeah, those brands are very comfortable. And honestly, if I feel good while I'm working, I perform well.
I agree with that as well. I think you should dress for whatever makes you feel confident, right? Like, for example, if and when I do go into the office occasionally, I will wear something that I like to wear, something that's comfortable for me, something that I feel like makes me look good. I'll put on a good perfume as well. I'll smell good. I'll line up my beard a little bit, do my hair. Well, right now I've lost my hair, but it's easily maintainable. It's something that just helps me feel more confident. But I do want to touch upon something that you said.
If I can just finish the clothing topic.
Go
and
ahead.
I
Go
wanna
ahead. Yeah.
touch on that
Yeah,
too.
because we're supposed to ask the question about clothing.
Clothing.
Yeah.
So the one advice I do want to give folks, and someone told me this to me I work in corporate, so it's more of a hierarchy, corporate structure. First of all, you should dress for the job you want. I think dressing up, investing in a solid wardrobe makes a lot of sense. And you don't have to invest too much. Just get a couple good fitting pieces. The key is fitting, not too tight, not too loose, whatever.
I don't agree.
And secondly, so this is the more important point, especially when you're going to client sites, you should dress in a manner where your client will be, but just a little bit better than them. So if your client's going to be in slacks and t-shirts or slacks and dress shirts, you should put on a jacket. If your client's going to be in jackets or so, you should put on a two-piece suit. If your client's going to be in a two-piece suit, put on a three-piece suit. Just be a little better. And believe me, the overall interaction, the impression, it's all mental at the end of the day when going to clients. This actually does work. And I've seen it firsthand. I've been using that tip.
Okay, the reason why I don't agree is because I think dressing should be the last thing on your mind, especially like if you're working sales, maybe clothes may matter, but the point is if you've got the communication down, you've got the technical knowledge down, the other guy sitting across the table is not really going to care how you're dressing. As long as you don't smell, as long as your hair is not untidy or anything like that, as long as you're just presentable, they don't care if you're wearing what type of suit or
Yes,
anything
but why
like
do you
that.
not worry about so communication, the way you talk?
Yeah.
Say that you give that 90% of value, but why would you leave the 10% to zero?
I don't think there's
You
even a
should-
10%.
Yes, there is.
I think
No,
there is.
There's always
man. There
percentages.
is.
No,
You
not
leave
for,
no
not
stone
for
Mental
dressing.
image.
Yeah.
Mental
Yeah.
image. There's a lot
Like,
going on.
Of course, don't wear sneakers to work, but like wear shoes. It doesn't matter. Like your shoes should be clean. Anything you're wearing should be clean. But at the same time, it doesn't matter what type of branded shoes you're wearing or your suits or you're wearing or anything like that.
Here's the thing.
Honestly,
Sales are
zero.
very competitive. You have two people
Yeah.
come to your doorstep selling you cookies,
yeah,
and both have equal pitches, same product, very near identical product or whatnot.
yeah.
One of them dresses like a bum, and one dress, actually very presentable, is clean, and has good.
You know
clothing.
what?
Let's assume
Who'd you
their
naturally
technical
gravitate to?
knowledge
Dude.
and let's assume their sales skills
Exactly.
are the same.
Let's assume it's all they are
Yeah,
at par.
I think
like Rizwan said.
I think as like citizens of in North America at least, I think we've gone beyond the superficial. I think people don't care about that anymore. Honestly,
Not
as long
much.
as like the guy
Not
who
as
dresses
much.
like a bum has a really good story or anything like that, I guarantee you he'll probably
Yeah,
make
but the story's
sale.
the same though. Everything's
No.
the same. Then the last
The
thing
point we're
is
trying to make is mental image doesn't matter,
Yeah.
like body image, your
Yeah.
impression,
Yeah.
first impressions. And you're right, particularly for sales, but even not sales. Say you don't work in sales, you just work like back office.
Yeah.
Dress for the job you want to be. Your sort of
That's
leader
true.
wears whatever. Like you should dress how you envision a leader to be, if you will. So
got it. I have a question for all of you guys. Why do you guys think self-improvement is important? What happens if you don't self-improve?
You stay
Why is that a
stagnant,
solid
right?
question?
Like you don't get ahead. I think self improvement is the basis of helping you improve in all facets of your life. It all starts from your end. Like how is your financial situation, your family situation, your situation in society, as I keep saying, how is that going to improve if you're not working on yourself? Is someone going to come and hand it to you? I don't think we believe in that. You have to, put in effort from your end.
So you
and
become
that starts with
stagnant.
self-improvement. Yeah.
Yeah. What do you think?
I think you get left behind. If you look at the new generation or so, people are ever improving, and if you don't stay on top of your game or stay current with the times or stay up to date, I mean, you're not going to be in a position where you'll be competitive in your value offering overall.
Look, man, I'm my own worst critic. No one can talk against me more than I talk against myself. So I'm my own worst critic. So I hold myself to a higher level, my own self accountable to a higher level. So when you do that, you're always self-improving, regardless of what age you're in, regardless of which position you're in. You set new goals, and then you attain those goals at a personal level, work level, relationship level, whatever it may be. So
Yeah.
I do that on all facets, and I'll continue to do so till it will never stop for me, even if I'm
Got
in
it.
my 90s. One of the things I'll give an example is our grandfather.
My
Yeah,
upcast.
our grandfather, he passed away till the last day, and he never stayed stagnant whatsoever. He was always working till the last
That's
day.
true.
He was not immobile. He was not on the bed. He walked even till his last day. So, he's one of the persons I highly look up to when I'm talking about personal growth, is because that man never took a single days of rest.
Got it.
And I don't think there is any concept for rest for us to even exercise. I think we should always keep growing. If you're in a state where you're comfortable, then that means you're not doing anything to your full due diligence, to your full potential, right?
That's true.
What's your
That's a
take?
good point. This is what I would want to say about that. I think self-improvement is very, very important. And you're right. If you don't do it, you get left behind. Not only you get left behind, your family gets left behind. Your self-improvement is important for your family, especially if you're married, especially if you have kids. You're an example to those kids, So,
Yeah.
like I said, it's not all about you. Stop being selfish, everybody. It's about you, your family, and the people you impact. Your brothers, it could be your mother,
Yeah.
your father. So it's not all about yourself. I think self-improvement is not just for within. It's for the people surrounding you who you impact
But
as well.
Dude, you cannot help anyone else until you don't help yourself
Yes, but you can
first.
be an example for them.
Absolutely. So
again,
that should be the motivation.
So only work on
Absolutely.
yourself, and that way you can lead by example, right?
Absolutely.
The other thing is, I'm talking about self-improvement. They don't want you to self-improve now. Why? Because the founder of TikTok, Asian, Chinese background, he made TikTok. What do they want you to do? Procrastinate. They want you to be followers. No one wants you to be a leader nowadays. They want you to be followers. They want you to make money easily, right? So again, TikTok in China is different than TikTok in Europe and the America and North America. It's all different. They want you to procrastinate. That's what they're trying to do. So they're trying to put self-improvement on a pause, and they want you to just follow, lead, make money easier, and then that's it.
Well, this is one. You're right, because one of the main things I see, especially in the North American mainstream media, is you are perfect. You are who you are. You don't need to change for anyone or anything like that.
Yeah,
I
yeah.
think all of that, from my perspective, is complete bullshit. Of course, you should be confident with yourself as to what you are, but at the same time, that should not stop you from saying, "Hey, I'm perfect. I don't need to improve, and accept me for who I am." Like, you know what I mean? Like, if you're gonna hold that level of attitude, then you're not gonna self-grow. Like, you cannot balance the two. There's only one side you can lead on. Are you perfect? No one's perfect. What are the areas I can improve on? These are the specific areas I can improve on. Should I be comfortable in those areas? Absolutely not. Then, of course, make a plan to execute and improve.
Okay, so we've talked about a couple of things. We've talked about communication. We've kind of talked about dressing well. You talked about something which I think we should touch upon. It was that mindset, and I think the
The
mindset,
spiritual connection,
the spiritual connection of really
the religious connection,
the religious connection. I'm going
the
to
Islamic connection.
I'm going to call it resiliency, the mindset
Yeah.
of resiliency. And I think that stems from being grounded. And what are we grounded in? The commonality that we share is our religion of Islam. And of course, we're brothers. That's not a commonality. But I think that's where we get our resilience from, right? Knowing that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is the one who is our provider. He is Ar-Razaq, right? The one who gives us our rizq, as we call it. Rizq is sustenance and provisions. And having that mindset when you face failure, it's not something that you look at as a negative. You recognize that Allah did not mean this for me. Even if the whole world tried to give it to me, I wouldn't have gotten it. And if something is meant for you, even if the whole world tries to stop you, you'll still get it if Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has ordained it for you. And having that resilient mindset, it allows you to keep pushing forward and keep moving forward. So
You know, but what happens if you travel in the Middle East or South Asia? You know what happens is a lot of people take that ideology and they say, "Okay, I failed once. I don't need to do anything. Allah didn't want me to get it. Okay, I give up."
Yeah.
That's what happens, and that's actually a popular mindset over there.
And that's
So
wrong.
that is
Mm.
completely
Yeah.
incorrect. Like, and so what I was going to add on to that was that's an incorrect ideology. You're guaranteed to fail anything you start from fresh.
sorry, just clarify what the incorrect ideology is. I just don't want viewers to get a confusion of what we said.
I
there.
didn't make it clear.
Clarify what you're
Yeah,
saying.
Okay,
elaborate.
So
Yeah.
what you said was like we believe in a higher entity, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and He provides and ordains. So if you fail, that is a will of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala on you. The point is the problem people in South Asia and the Middle East popularly do is if they've failed once, they give up thinking that that was their destiny, that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala
Right,
ordained
right,
that
right,
failure
right, right.
onto them. Instead of trying again, instead of going past the breaking point and say, okay, let me push past and see why I failed, and these are the things I can improve on.
Yeah, I agree. I agree 100%. You know, there's a saying where like tie your camel and then the rest is up to Allah. And what that means is really like you've got to try your utmost best. And that means multiple attempts, if you will, or whatnot. And then, I mean, once you've done your best at that point, you leave it to Allah. And I do want to say one more thing, actually. I pulled up an ayah from the Quran, and I think it's really valuable, and I'll mention it in a second, but
Say it in
idea
the
is-
camera. Say it in the camera.
I'll say it in the camera, yeah. Say it to your face. But the idea is that from just going back, tying it to confidence and what Usman was saying, we believe in a higher power and whatnot, but once you make a decision, you can't backtrack on that, right? Especially as a leader, and that's part of confidence. And Allah says in the Quran in Surah Al-Imran, ayah 159, it's the third surah, and in the English translation is, and consult with them in conducting matters. And that's another thing, like you should actually consult with your peers and folks above you or below you. And secondly, Allah says, once you make a decision, put your trust in Allah. Surely Allah loves those who trust in Him. Once again, it ties everything together and eloquently said in a divine manner, but that you can't backtrack on your decisions. You made a decision, you thought through it, you consulted others. It never worked out for you. That doesn't mean you have to sort of fall into despair or depression or see that as a setback. I mean, it should be motivating that, all right, it's clear. This is not for me. We move forward then. What's next after this?
I need to share something.
This
So
is important.
You just turned around, so.
Al-Hazm in Arabic, it's called Al-Hazm, decisiveness, and
Got
that's
it.
what you're talking about. There is a narration of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam.
Sallallahu alaihi wasallam.
I can't remember the battle, but inshallah we'll mention it in the comments, hopefully. There was a battle that the Prophet ﷺ and his companions were going to go into. And he did mashawara, which is what you're talking about. Mashawara, like talking to your fellow peers, your companions, and asking them, help you make a decision. Like, what should we do? Of course, the leader still, who the Prophet ﷺ was going to make the decision. And he asked his companions, should we go into this battle? And the young companions were very eager. They wanted to battle. They wanted to show their courage. And they said, yes, Ya Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, let's go into this battle. And then the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam said, okay, let's do that. And then the young companions who had pushed him, and they felt that they had pushed him, they said they started a little bit backtrack and flake a little bit. That you know what, maybe Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, we may have pushed you to this decision, so let's not go into battle now. But then this is what the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam said. He said, "Not well." I'm going to paraphrase
I
it.
have the
Maybe
quote.
you have the quote. Go ahead, say it then.
So this was the Battle of Uhud. The situation was that the Quraysh came and launched a bit of a surprise attack on the Prophet and the companions in Medina. And upon sort of learning just about it, the mashawara was done. And it was done not with just like the veterans, it was done with everyone, including the overzealous
youth.
Sahaba,
Yeah.
the youth. And they said, yeah, let's take them head on in the
Mhm.
mountains of Uhud. And ultimately, the Prophet agreed with their decision. It's like, all right, it makes sense. I mean, this is what the masses wanted. It was democratic too in many ways, right? So a lot of lessons learned. And then at that point, the senior Sahaba, in this case Hamza, the uncle of the Prophet, one of his most beloved, and it's so interesting because if you know what happened in the Battle of Uhud, it was Hamza who actually was the most prominent death amongst the Muslim ranks. So Hamza went to the Prophet, peace be upon him, and he told the Prophet that the youth were overzealous or overeager, and I mean, we feel that it's best if we fight not in the public battlefield, but stay within the confines of the city. And the Prophet said, and I quote, "It is not befitting or appropriate that once a prophet has worn his armor, he takes it off without engaging battle." And this is a quote, but if you look into their interpretation or meaning, it's basically that I made a decision, I did mashawara, I'm not backtracking on it. We agreed to this collectively, and let's move forward. There's no gosh in Islam. There's no sort of I regret this. I wish I did that. I wish I bought that house. I wish I bought that stock option, or I wish I did this or that.
Don't talk about stocks. There's so many stories
My point
we
is,
have for stocks.
really, like, you made a decision, stick to it, deal with the consequences, and move head on. But that's a very touching story. I'm surprised you brought that up in this moment.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No. Thank you for having the proper quotes for it. That's not a story that you want to get wrong, really.
Listen, our religion is beautiful because not only does it, that story was very heartfelt, but it also, in our religion, it also is known that Allah loves a strong believer, over a weak believer. He loves everybody, but He loves a strong believer over a weak believer. And when they mention the word strong, someone correct me if I'm wrong, Hasibai or anybody else. What I meant, how I take it from it, not just strong in regards to in Islam, but also in confines of your mental strength, your strength to push forward when you take a decision, your physical strength as well. So that's what I take from that statement. Where was that said? That Allah loves a strong believer. Was it a hadith or?
We'll
We'll
to
get a
that.
reference.
Huh? We have to get a reference.
Yeah.
No, we'll have to get back to it. I think I know
Yeah.
what you're talking about.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I
Got it.
suspect it's in the Quran, by the way. I didn't want to shift gears, guys. More on like the topic of
Yes.
self-improvement, especially at the workplace. I had this weird tip, which once again someone told me, and it's resonated so much. And it's kind of around that communication. It's around twofold. Listening, number one, listening to what, particularly when you're at client sites, like what is the other person saying? Like, shut up for a change. Don't preach all the time. Just listen to what they're saying. And the other part of that is, as you prep for meetings, it's going to sound a little weird, get into the habit of role play. And what I mean by that is really,
Yeah.
I mean, you can take that any way you want if you wish, but role play in the sense that actually play out what the other party is going to think or feel or say based on sort of whatever the context or situation is. If you're going up to, say, senior leadership with something, you got to step in their shoes, like actually go to the other side of the table, step in their shoes and really think about, I'm going to tell them this, and this is my role, and this is the context. If I was in their shoes, this is what I would respond with or ask or whatnot. It doesn't have to go with senior leadership. It could go with anybody you're talking to. It could go with your spouse or whatever. As you're communicating, one of the things is role play in order to get ahead of the situation and try to be better prepared. Because if you're not better prepared, then, hey, it just helps overall, and especially more critical or tough conversation. I'd say this is a very, very good tip which I got once.
Yeah. No, thank you for sharing that anecdote. I do think, we're running out of time today. We may need to have a part 2 of this kind of an episode. There's a lot to say here. And I
A
think
lot of stories.
a lot of stories
Yeah.
actually
Next
that
time
we want
should
to
get
share.
into how we have failed in certain aspects of life and what we did to push forward. You know,
Yeah, let's actually
Yeah.
share some,
losing
setbacks.
100,000 in stocks.
200,000.
Collectively, I'm
About
not
the
sure what
same
the
for
amount
me.
is.
Anything financial, don't talk to me for advice.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Well, there you have it, folks. That's the podcast for today. That's your four brothers signing out.